At the ruins of the ancient gods, Qin Xiaoyu regarded Qin Feng with a mix of admiration and intrigue. Despite his lifespan extending 100 times over, he had successfully navigated the treacherous remnants of the ancient civilization. However, she had claimed the artifact known as the Eye of Judgment for herself. Qin Feng confronted Qin Xiaoyu, his expression a mix of confusion and hurt as he struggled to understand her betrayal. Xiaoyu, visibly annoyed, held the Eye of Judgment tightly, her disdain clear. She reminded him that he was just the adopted son of their parents, emphasizing that they weren't blood-related. A shout echoed through the air, calling out to Xiaoyu. She turned with a smile, spotting her brother, Sun Fei. He greeted her with a teasing remark, calling her an old miser, but in his usual way, also acknowledging that she was actually useful for once. Sun Fei turned to Qin Feng, a twisted smile curling on his lips. He spoke with feigned gratitude, acknowledging that it was only because of Qin Feng's efforts that he and Xiaoyu were able to acquire the powerful magical weapon. Sun Fei had gone to great lengths to drain Qin Feng's life, even inserting the Soul Reaper sword into his body to ensure his ultimate demise. Sun Fei considered it a fitting token of gratitude for the man's role in their success. Qin Feng looked at Qin Xiaoyu, his expression filled with disappointment. He had worked tirelessly to raise her, ensuring their parents could support her without worry. After the game arrived, he had taken countless risks, fighting for her sake time and time again. Yet in this moment, realization struck. He had completely misjudged his sister. Qin Xiaoyu's gaze was cold as she spoke without hesitation. After their parents passed away, Qin Feng had done nothing but control her life, disciplining her at every turn. For a time when she and Sun Fei needed shelter, he had been somewhat useful. But now, with the artifact in their hands, his worth had completely vanished. There was no need for him anymore. Sun Fei slashed his sword, telling Qin Feng to die in peace, promising to take care of Xiaoyu. Coughing up, Qin Feng glared defiantly. Even in death, he swore he would never let Sun Fei go. Qin Feng took his final breath, his vision fading as darkness swallowed everything. In 2025, the forgotten game of God will arrive. While a person is asleep, they will be forcibly dragged into the world of the game. The only currency in the game is life. Death will cost you part of your life, and killing monster will earn you life. Players can consume their life to extract skills from the game and bring them into reality. For a strong person, it's no longer a dream to crush a tank with their bare hands, slice an airplane with a sword, or even withstand a nuclear bomb with their body. From then on, the world changed drastically and disaster spread. Qin Feng reflected on his journey, surviving alongside his sister, overcoming countless hardships, and barely securing a place among the world's 100 strongest. After countless trials and deadly battles, Qin Feng finally conquered the ruins of the ancient gods. With the Eye of Judgment in his grasp, he had taken the next step. He was finally qualified to reach the top. But who would have thought? In the end, all he received was betrayal from the ones he loved most. A lifetime of effort, only to be used and cast aside. Everything he fought for had only benefited others, leaving him with nothing, but he refused to accept it. If he had another chance, if he could live again, this time he would live for himself. Qin Feng jolted awake in his bed, his mind racing in confusion. Shock filled his eyes as he looked around. Could it be? Was he back in the real world? Was he not dead? Grabbing his phone with trembling hands, he checked the date. His breath caught. 2025. Qin Feng gazed out the window, his mind spinning. Could it be? He thought. Am I reborn? A rush of realization hit him. He had been reborn 9 years ago, on the very day the forgotten game of the gods was unleashed. The door slammed open as Qin Xiaoyu entered, frustration written on her face. She had been calling for Qin Feng, but there was no answer. Her sudden arrival broke the quiet, her concern and irritation clear as she found him at last. Qin Feng couldn't help but think back to the day the forgotten game of gods was released. It was then that he and Qin Xiaoyu had a massive argument, all because of Sun Fei. Xiaoyu, fuming, kicked the trash can in frustration. She yelled, her voice sharp with emotion. She had only gone to support Sun Fei, yet Qin Feng had tried to stop her, unable to understand how crucial it was for her to be there for him in that moment. Before the game arrived, Sun Fei was a famous idol, and Qin Xiaoyu was his devoted fan. Furious at the encroaching fans, she felt pressured and determined to support him. Qin Feng, aware of Sun Fei's deceitful nature, tried to protect her by cutting off her money and blocking her from competing. However, his actions only deepened her frustration, and she blamed him for trapping her. Despite his good intentions, Qin Feng found himself accused of interfering in her life, a bitter irony he never expected. Qin Xiaoyu pointed at Qin Feng, furious, blaming him for her brother's drop from the leaderboards and demanding money. In response, Qin Feng slapped her across the face, causing her to stumble and fall. She lay there, trembling with anger, staring at him in disbelief. Qin Feng, calm yet firm, warned Qin Xiaoyu that he had no time for a fight, but if she kept pushing, he'd make her regret it. He revealed that he had never touched the money their parents left him despite his struggles. Throwing her the card, he declared he would pay her back everything that day. Qin Feng told Qin Xiaoyu that for the sake of their parents, he wouldn't argue with her, but from that moment on, he no longer considered her his sister. With that, he turned and walked back to his room, leaving her crying and sitting in the floor. In his past life, Qin Feng had lost too much while trying to protect Qin Xiaoyu. There were countless hidden places and treasures he had once given up on exploring. Now free of that burden, he wondered how far he could go. He took a sleeping pill, focused on his new path. With the knowledge from his past life, he would surpass everyone. He decided that Qin Xiaoyu would prove her own worth, and Sun Fei would fall by his hands. As Qin Feng entered the game, he felt a wave of nostalgia wash over him. The Grand Hall of Professions selection brought back memories of his first visit, where it had taken him hours to make his choice, his nerves running high. This time, though, he was determined to be faster. In his past life, Qin Feng had chosen the warrior class to protect Qin Xiaoyu. While the warrior class wasn't weak, it hadn't been the best fit for him. Now free from the burden of looking out for her, he realized his solo leveling would be much faster. Qin Feng made up his mind. Mobility would be key. With that thought, he decided. This time, he would choose the assassin class. A notice suddenly appeared. The artifact, Eye of Judgment, has already been bound. Qin Feng was puzzled by the message. Then another notice flashed. Eye of Judgment activated. A third notice followed, detailing its unique attribute. Unique attribute, Might of Judgment. The passive effect read, when you enter the game abandoned by the gods, you will automatically obtain the highest quality profession and talents. Qin Feng's confusion deepened as he processed the unexpected revelations. A smile spread across Qin Feng's face as he processed the situation. The Eye of Judgment had bound itself to him, a reborn soul. He realized that once an artifact recognized its master, it became useless if stolen. It dawned on him that his rebirth might have been tied to this artifact, bringing him a new sense of clarity. Suddenly, shadows entered Qin Feng's body, leaving him puzzled. A notification appeared. Congratulations! You've unlocked a hidden profession. A second message followed. Transferring class. The screen flashed again. Class transfer complete. You have become the Shadow. Qin Feng's eyes widened as he realized the significance of his new class. The Shadow, he thought. It turns out this is the highest level hidden assassin class. Unlike the warrior class of his past life, this one was completely different. The power it granted was immediate, and he felt its strength coursing through him as soon as he obtained the profession. When choosing a profession, there was only a small chance of unlocking its superior hidden version. However, the authority of judgment had the power to turn that slim probability into certainty. Qin Feng couldn't help but wonder what the Eye of Judgment truly was to possess such extraordinary abilities. A notice appeared, revealing the true nature of the Eye of Judgment. The authority of judgment, the most real and ancient primordial authority in the universe. It further stated, authority prevails over rules and order. You don't have divinity and cannot activate the authority for now, but its passive effect is active. Qin Feng's thoughts raced as he processed the information. Primordial authority that nullifies rules and order? The power was far beyond anything he had ever imagined. In his past life, Qin Feng remembered that it wasn't until the seventh year of the game, abandoned by the gods, that a powerful figure managed to escape from the earth, abandoned by the gods, and reach the land of order. That was when humanity first learned of the existence of the power of order. However, despite the years that passed, in the end, no one was able to obtain the power of order. Qin Feng marveled at the revelation. He never thought it possible, but he had already obtained the original authority that nullified order and rules from the start. He realized that as long as he could leave the earth abandoned by the gods, reach the land of order, and obtain divinity, he would be able to activate his authority. A new goal had emerged in his life. The profession selection was complete, and a prompt appeared. Please enter your game code. Qin Feng pondered for a moment, wondering what to name himself. Since his profession was born from the shadows, he decided on shadows. A new message appeared. Your code name is Shadow. A series of notices appeared before Qin Feng. This is a ruined land filled with countless monsters wreaking havoc. Be careful. They're ready to tear you apart and steal your life at any moment. Upon leaving the town and slaying monsters, you'll gain tradable life. But if you die in the game, half of your life will be deducted. This includes both tradable and non-transferable life. This area, Shell Town, is a peace zone. There are no monsters within, players cannot attack each other, and the life loss rate is 1x. Qin Feng read through the details, preparing for what lay ahead. In the town, people were confused and disoriented, questioning their surroundings. Some wondered if they were hallucinating, while others recalled ordinary activities before being mysteriously transported. One man felt intense pain, realizing it wasn't a dream, but a harsh reality. They had been dragged into some kind of game. Qin Feng watched the scene unfold, a troubling thought crossing his mind. Have so many people been pulled into the game? Qin Feng, clad in a black hoodie, was deep in thought. He knew that soon, powerful individuals from around the world would emerge to reshape the global order. To stay ahead, he needed to act swiftly. Time was not on his side. Meanwhile, the crowd around him buzzed with curiosity. They noticed his unusual dagger, speculating about his profession. Some wondered if he was an assassin, envious of his cool appearance and the special effects emanating from his weapon, questioning why they didn't possess the same allure. Qin Feng stopped as a group of people landed in front of him, wincing from the fall. They appeared disoriented, clearly in pain, and seemed to be questioning the rules of the game. The crowd murmured among themselves, surprised by the fierceness of the wild monster. Some questioned if a single bite could really drain half their health. Despite being only a level 1 creeper, they struggled to even reduce its health by a third, feeling frustrated and overwhelmed. Lizzie sat on the floor, visibly exhausted and unsure of what to do next, while her team struggled with the strong monsters outside. Shadow observed her, noticing that, as an archer, she wielded a long bow instead of the usual short bow. This hinted at her having a hidden profession. Lizzie, recognizing Shadow's strength, approached him with an offer to team up, explaining how the monsters were too much for a single person. Her team had already been annihilated once, so they knew the dangers well. Shadow, with a quiet chuckle, thought to himself that Lizzie certainly knew what it felt like to be defeated. He simply declined the offer, choosing to handle things on his own. Lizzie's team grew frustrated with Shadow's silence, one member sarcastically questioning if he was trying to act like an expert by not saying anything. Another teammate, laughing at the audacity, reminded him of the dangers and how foolish it was to try to take on the monsters alone. One member tried to defend Shadow, mentioning that with his hidden profession as an assassin, he could likely escape if things got too tough. Lizzie, scanning his character info and seeing the codename Shadow, clearly unimpressed by what she considered his pretentious demeanor. Shadow moved toward the town's gate, his focus unwavering. Lizzie, watching from behind, decided to follow, eager to see what skills he might reveal. With a smirk, she thought about gathering new information on the monsters, curious to see how he would fare in the dangerous territory outside.